One Punch Man has just evolved to Zero Punch Man in One Punch Man manga chapter 168. This is probably the craziest One Punch Man chapter to date, though I'm not sure if that craziness is entirely good. I have mixed feelings about this chapter, with there being a lot of cool and surprising things that happen, though I think some of the story choices are questionable. Let's start from the beginning. The fight between Saitama and Garo continues, with both evolving further and further as the fight goes on, with a little diagram to show their progression. As to be expected, Saitama starts to leave Garo in the dust. However, this chapter all but confirms Saitama was legitimately using his full power, and he's only winning because he's growing in power faster. The graph also flat out confirms Garo is stronger than past Saitama. While it does seem Saitama has limitless potential, this flat out confirms his power has a standard level at a given point in time, and that someone much stronger can come along and defeat him if they don't allow him to grow in power. I'm completely fine with this concept and think it makes sense, though I feel like it might have been a bit early for this to happen. This seems like something they could have done for the final battle in the series, with Saitama finally meeting someone he could fight on par with, but wins in the end due to growing in power. But now if they reuse this concept, I think it would be stale. Maybe God will truly be more powerful than Saitama and he won't be able to defeat him alone, and he will need help from all of his comrades he made along the way. But I'm not sure if One Punch Man is the right series for that kind of ending. I feel like it would somewhat defeat the entire premise of the series. Though it could also be a good ending in a way, as Saitama might learn that there's more to things than just raw strength, and how his journey was more about the relationships he built along the way, rather than him fighting a strong enemy. Saitama's been fighting Garo naked this entire time, and because of this he gets cold and sneezes. The power of this sneeze ends up blowing open Jupiter in an amazing color panel. Just in case any of you forgot, this is how big Jupiter is compared to Earth. Not just the power scalers were impressed by this feat, but Garo as well. Saitama and Garo then fly in the opposite direction of the explosion. I'm not sure if this is because of the backlash of the sneeze, or if it's Garo driving Saitama back. While Garo and Saitama are holding hands during their romantic spaceflight, Garo looks off into the distance and looks at the beautiful scenery, and we learn he can teleport to any place he can see. The next scene confused me a bit on my first read, but on my reread I think I figured it out. At first I thought Garo was looking at the sun, and teleported Saitama there, and then teleported himself to Earth. But now I don't think that's what happened. I think he was actually just looking at Earth, and the sun just happened to be in the background there. What we see next, which I thought was Garo faceplanting Saitama into the sun and then the sun glowing from the impact, is actually Garo blasting Saitama away, with Jupiter being right there on the right side of the panel, still being hit by the sneeze wave. The reason this likely isn't the sun is that the glowing rays are in front of Jupiter, which means the glowing orb that is smaller than Jupiter in the panel should truly be smaller than it based off perspective. If it was the sun, the light rays would have been behind Jupiter. This is further confirmed by Garo saying he sent Saitama flying in the opposite direction, and the sun and the earth were in the same direction from where they were. The way Saitama countered this was by farting when he was surprised by the flash of light, which is possibly a callback to Murata's previous interview where he said if Saitama didn't hit the moon when Boros kicked him into space, he would have probably came back with a serious fart. The panel for the fart is funny, but kind of gross, and leaves me wondering how Saitama fit that much air in his bowels. Saitama then punches Garo back down to Earth where it all started. He then questions if Garo was aiming for this place. But wait, wasn't it Saitama that just punched Garo there? Unless he just meant the Earth in general. But considering Tario was right there, I think he meant the specific spot they were fighting before. And again, that doesn't really make any sense because Saitama was the one who punched him there. Maybe he meant Garo teleporting over that exact spot, but that would mean Saitama decided to punch him in a perfect linear line down to Earth. And even being slightly off at that distance would send them miles away. Obviously someone like Saitama could do it, but he would have no reason to do it in that scenario, so it just doesn't make sense. Speaking of Tario, he's dead. This makes Garo cry. This could have been an emotional scene, but Garo just running away and tripping with cartoonish tears running down his cheeks made it more funny than sad. I just can't take Garo seriously with those tear streaks. I think if Murata spent more time truly making Garo look desperate and sad instead of giving him that blank crying face, it would have had a more emotional impact. And Saitama already broke off that part of his face by the way, so it didn't really make sense why his face was back to that galaxy looking thing instead of showing his true face underneath. A cool character building tidbit was when Saitama calls Garo out for clinging to Tario for support, rather than truly wanting to save him. And how Garo realized Saitama needed Genos' support in a similar fashion when he saw him holding his core. Garo says nobody with Saitama's level of power can keep in their right mind. And if you've watched The Boys, you know how having power can corrupt. The next part of the chapter is where it truly gets weird. Garo decides to teach Saitama his copycat martial arts he got from God. He basically just shows Saitama what to do at an atomic level, and somehow Saitama just copies it. God didn't like Garo giving away his secrets, so he turned him to salt, killing him. This actually surprised me, but what happened next reversed it. And not just that, everything. Saitama just starts spontaneously traveling back in time. I thought Garo was teaching him his copycat ability, but apparently he was specifically just showing him how to time travel, as it would make no sense for Saitama to spontaneously start traveling back in time after activating the technique otherwise. Garo did say Saitama was jumping straight to the ultimate secrets, so he must have meant that move he was teaching was the ultimate secret move he figured out or something. While traveling back in time, Saitama acknowledges that Garo's martial arts are awesome. I'm not sure if he's saying that as he's watching Garo's martial arts techniques as he's going back in time, or if he's talking about the time travel ability itself. And if it's the latter, last time I checked, time traveling isn't a martial arts ability. But who knows? Maybe in One Punch Man it does fall under the category of martial arts. Or maybe Saitama's just stupid and still doesn't understand martial arts. I don't know. Once he finds the spot he wants to stop, he stops Cosmic Garo before he can give the other heroes cancer, and knocks the god powers right out of him. Saitama has literally reversed causality and won before the fight even began. Well, technically his fight with Garo already started at that point, but it was before the first serious punch was thrown, so Saitama probably didn't actually consider it a fight yet. So in the end, it took not one punch, well, not one serious punch, to win. It took one punch from the future, and that doesn't count. Heck, Saitama could be so strong at that point, he might have just one-shot Garo with a normal punch, which would make it doubly not count. As I just pointed out, if normal punches counted, then it would have been way more than one punch already. But it sounds cool, so let's go with it took Saitama 0 punches to win the fight against Garo. The next part is one of my biggest problems with the chapter. The future and present Saitamas merge with each other, which is fine, as two Saitamas would be weird. But it seems all of the future Saitama's memories were lost. If this is permanent, then the future version of Saitama arguably just died. And at the very least, he lost all he learned from that fight, both mentally and physically. He would have lost all of the character growth he got from the death of Genos in the fight with Garo, lost the technique Garo taught him, and he may have lost all of the physical strength he gained from the fight as well. There's only one way I'll be okay with these turns of events, and that's if future Saitama is still somewhere dormant in there, and something will trigger those memories and experiences to resurface again. Like maybe Saitama meets an opponent way stronger than him, possibly God, and his other version gets brought out and he uses those abilities and the strength he gained from the Garo fight to overcome this new enemy. If that happens, I'm okay with it. But if future Saitama is lost forever, I will not be a happy camper, as it would make that entire portion of the fight kind of feel pointless. I'm sure he'll reach that level of power again regardless, but I think that was an invaluable life experience for Saitama, and I don't like him losing it forever. Saitama does still have the dead version of Genos' core in his hand, so maybe that will end up jogging his memory somehow. Or maybe that core will be used for a future plot point. Or maybe nothing will come of it. I don't know. There's one last weird thing that happened in this chapter that I don't quite get. For some reason Saitama's pants are missing a piece and left his dick hanging loose. I have no idea why this happened, as Saitama's suit should have been intact at this point in time. And the only thing that changed was that he merged with his future self. Its future self was naked, so maybe that part of him got transported to his groin? I have no idea. Maybe his dick has all of his future self's powers now. I don't know. If that's the case, Tatsumaki and Fubuki better watch out. With his willy hanging free, Genos couldn't resist himself and rushed Saitama. This panel looks very similar to how Genos rushed Garo a couple chapters back, though Genos is ramming Saitama out of love, not hate. Now I think it's time to end this video before I make any more weird jokes. You know what? I think I'm gonna go back in time and make you guys subscribe before you even get this far so you don't have to suffer through my cringe jokes. Let's start from the beginning. I just came from the future, and I just need to let you know, you loved my video. I didn't say any cringe jokes, you laughed at all of them. You don't need to watch any further. I'm just saving you time. You loved it. Hit the like button, subscribe, wait for my new I just came even further in the future, and I just want to let you know Murata redrew everything. Nothing in this chapter is the same. This entire video is pointless. You don't even need to watch it. Just subscribe to my channel, because I could tell you, in the future, I make a lot of great content. So hit the subscribe button, hit the notification button, and keep watching all my videos, because they're great.